Thank you to EA for sponsoring this video. Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to Copperdale. So today I'm going to be showing you how I built the Price family home. This is one of 2 official lots I built for The Sims 4 High School, and by the time you watch this, my video for the library should already be out, so I highly suggest you check that out first. But basically, EA decided to collaborate with 3 builders to build the pre-made lots that are going to be packaged with the pack. And I was lucky enough to be one of those who were invited, and I was responsible for building 1 community lot, which was the library, and 1 residential lot, which is a home for pre-made Sims. And it turns out that they were the Price family, and I am really excited to be doing this because this was quite a build. Yeah, building this house was definitely quite an adventure, and I'm really excited to finally be able to share that experience with you guys. But basically, this is a fairly large family home. It's a Tudor revival inspired home, and we're building it in the woodsy area of Copperdale. So first of all, I started off with a floor plan because I knew that if I didn't figure out the floor plan early on, I'm gonna be having some problems because I was building this for a fairly large family, so I needed to make room for everyone. Also, I decided to do a Tudor revival style mainly because of my passion for architectural history. I actually took up architectural history in college, so I tried to incorporate a little bit of that personal experience into my builds. So for my first build, which was the library, I actually chose to do a more classical inspired build, so it's more neoclassical, Georgian inspired, and for this build I decided to go for more of a Tudor inspiration. And when I first suggested this idea to EA, they weren't too keen on the Tudor aspect of it because understandably they weren't quite sure if it would fit in with their vision of the world, but I felt really strongly about it. You can see me trying different color options here, but I felt really strongly about making it a Tudor revival house, so I was able to use those. I believe those are mission style wallpapers, which are supposed to be interior wallpapers if I'm not mistaken. But those wallpapers are from base game, and you can see them all over Oasis Springs. And for some reason, I just thought of using them on the exterior, and they kind of reminded me of kind of like the wood detail that you would see in Tudor architecture. So I went ahead and used them on the exterior, and it turned out really nicely. And I'm really happy that I trusted my gut instinct because the moment I showed this to the devs, they instantly fell in love with it. They loved the shape of the house, they loved the wraparound balcony, and they loved how it overall felt with the rest of the world because it reminded them of the other shells that they made around the world as well. So I'm really happy that I pushed through with that initial idea, and I'm really happy that they were also really open to our ideas and our feedback and our suggestions as well. Yeah, basically EA worked really closely with us on our builds, mostly giving us advice on how to, properly optimize our builds for gameplay and for performance purposes. Of course, these are going to be packaged officially with the pack, so we got to make sure that they work on as many systems as possible, so they were able to give us advice on that. And also we were able to give them feedback as well. So one piece of feedback that I was able to give them on was to maybe flesh out the family a little bit more, because when I first got involved with the project, I actually contemplated the idea of possibly doing a modern home for this family, but I quickly scrapped that idea because I realized that it didn't really work with the story that they were going for. But during that process, we did decide to flesh out the parents' personalities a little bit more, because when I first got involved, they really weren't that fleshed out. So those were the kinds of feedback that we were able to give them, and they were really open about it. And yeah, really glad that it was a real collaboration. One more thing that I would like to mention is that as a builder, we're used to using a lot of tricks such as the alt placement and also cheats as well, such as move objects. And for these builds, we weren't able to do those once again because they wanted the builds to be optimized and they were going to be packaged officially with the pack. So we were very limited with what we can do as far as builds go. So I think I can say this for all of the builders, but we were pretty nervous because I'm pretty sure most of us were used to using move objects. But honestly, doing these builds taught me a lot about myself. I know that sounds really cliche, but for the longest time, I thought I couldn't build anything without using move objects because move objects is kind of like the default state of all of my builds. But doing these builds really taught me a lot about myself and the fact that I can actually build something that looks really decent without using move objects. I know, even I'm shocked. And yeah, EA was really supportive about that as well. I'm pretty sure they knew about us relying heavily on move objects and they're really supportive about that. And also, before I forget, I just want to let you know that these builds were built over a period of a couple of months. So you will see these builds change over time as the video progresses. We will be going back into the build and changing some things as we get feedback from EA. So whatever you see here right now is not going to be the final look for the build. I personally haven't actually seen the final build itself because I did give my final version of my build to EA and then they went through it with their own team and they might change some things. From what I've heard from other game changers, they don't really change a lot of stuff, like they just take out some clutter items and all of that stuff, but generally everything still looks the same. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the final build because I technically haven't seen it yet. So yes, anyway, for the interior of the house, I went for something that's more traditional. Lots of warm woodsy tones, which I felt like worked really well with the surrounding area because this is kind of like the woodsy area of Copperdale. The parents' bedroom, you can see me playing around with the color palette because I wasn't quite sure which color scheme worked for this room, but I ended up going for a more neutral colors that for me basically matched with the rest of the house because I feel like the parents' bedroom tends to be more cohesive with the rest of the house as far as the style goes, but we will be able to customize the teen bedrooms as well as the child's room when we get to it. Also, this is me just making one bathroom. This house actually ended up having 4 bathrooms, but I just decided to film me furnishing one of the bathrooms. This is actually the more traditional looking one because the other ones look more modern. Basically, I saw this as more of a generations home, so some aspects are definitely more traditional and some aspects are also more modern as well, such as the kids' bedroom. This is where I tried to incorporate more of their personalities, more of their individual personalities. So we're actually starting off the kids' rooms with the child's bedroom. So this is more of an animal theme room. I wanted to use more neutral colors, so I decided to use that brown wallpaper, which I really liked actually. It's one of the more toned down color options for that particular wallpaper. Oh, you can actually see one of the bathrooms right there. Yeah, I really liked this room, and the Sim Gurus really enjoyed this room as well. Actually, they absolutely loved it, and this room changed very little from when I first gave it to them, so I'm really happy about that. Also love the green as well. If you know me, green is my favorite color, so really liked how much green this room had. And overall, I just really enjoyed it. This room had a lot of personality. You can probably see one of the teen bedrooms. That's gonna change a lot, especially the teen boys bedroom. You can see it next to this room. It's gonna be changing a lot, and we're gonna get to that when we get to it. But right now, for the kids' bedroom, we're just putting in some decals on the walls and also a nice little dollhouse as well. Anyway, moving on to the exchange student's bedroom. So this is for a character that you've probably seen on the trailer. This is Kevin's room. He is a hopeless romantic and he is an exchange student. So in one of our earlier meetings, they actually gave us the option to choose which lots we wanted to build. And I think a lot of us really wanted to do the boba tea shop. And this lot was definitely one of the lots that I wanted to work on simply because of the exchange student aspect. And I felt like it made sense since I myself am not an American, and working on a house for an exchange student kind of felt really thematically appropriate for the channel, if you guys get what I mean. But yeah, for this bedroom, I just kept it really traditional, pretty much in keeping with the rest of the style of the house. Since it was an exchange student's room, it's not going to be like their permanent room. They're only going to be staying here for like a short period of time. So, you know, a lot of personal stuff I kept limited to things like posters, and there's also a guitar as well because they did see that character as somebody who would carry around a guitar on campus. Anyway, moving on to probably one of the more interesting rooms of the house. This is another one of the teen bedrooms, and this is the teen girl's bedroom. She is an influencer. I'm sorry, I don't know them by names because I haven't really spent a lot of time in games since I've finished building these lots. But anyway, this is the influencer's bedroom. As you can probably see, it was originally intended to be a garage, but we decided it'd be best to just convert it into a shed instead. So yeah, this is basically a little shed. It's an extension of the house, and I thought it makes sense to make it a bedroom because I feel like when you're a teenager, you're kind of like flexing your independence, and this is one way for the parents to kind of give their children a sense of independence without fully, you know, kicking them out of the house, if you guys get what I mean. Also, I'd like to think that they had no choice to move one of their kids in here because they were going to be hosting an exchange student, and one of the bedrooms in the main house had to be occupied for that. So I thought it makes sense to have kind of like a bedroom in the shed. But I was really happy with how this bedroom turned out. This is another one of the bedrooms that changed very little because the devs really enjoyed it. I really loved it. They felt like it really captured the personality of the teen living here, and yeah, this room pretty much stays the way it is. There's gonna be some minor changes. I'm not sure if that canopy is gonna be there in the final product. I kind of hope it is, but I doubt it because we did test it out and it had some like routing issues with the bed. So yeah, but if you guys know me, you'd know that I'm such a weeb. I don't like calling myself that actually because I consider myself as more of an otaku, but either way, I'm a huge anime fan. I love gaming. So doing that room was kind of a piece of cake for me, and I'm really happy that we pretty much got to keep everything I initially planned to have in that room. Moving on to the landscaping, I just kept it really traditional. You know, we have some flower beds and some pretty large trees. I wanted this to feel more sheltered, so I did put some larger trees in front. And I also wanted this to feel like this house has been here for like generations, so I thought it kind of makes sense. There's also a little outdoor dining area and a little barbecue area as well. And there's also quite a lot of space out here. This is where I ended up putting one of the cheer mats. I believe I put that item pretty late into the build, so I don't know if I'm gonna have footage for that. But yes, here I am making some adjustments to the shed to make it look more like a shed and less of a garage. But yes, I think this is the point where we were starting to make some changes to our builds based on the feedback that we got from EA. And okay, now we're working on the teen boy's bedroom. So this is the bedroom that I probably spent the most time changing. And I gotta say, out of all of the versions of this room, this is probably my favorite version of it because it's my personal style. I like the more minimalist aesthetic. So if I had to choose my room, this is probably gonna be the style I would choose. But I do understand that it doesn't match the personality of the sim that actually lives here. So you'll see me change this room quite a bit. We're gonna go through like 2 or 3 different styles. So initially I did go for a more simpler style, more minimalist. This teen is supposed to be like a cheerleader. They're supposed to be like an overachiever. So it was a bit tricky to translate that into the style of the room because it could literally be anything. I was told that they also have a very like vibrant personality, so they really wanted me to use really bright colors for this room. I was also told that this sim was exploring their sexuality, that's why there's some LGBT items in here as well. So I actually wanted to use kind of like an orange color palette because it kind of reminded me of like, you know, California sunset, the kind of like Palm Springs person who goes to Coachella vibes. That was the vibe I was going for with this orange room color scheme. But they really wanted this room to be purple. So this room pretty much stays the way it is, except I will be changing it to purple eventually. Right, so we're now towards the end of the project, and at this point I'm just making some minor adjustments to the color palette. These are things that you don't really think about as a builder, but I did get the feedback of my color palettes being too similar and it tends to drown out the items. So I had to make changes to introduce a little bit more contrast just so that the objects would actually be more visible. So yeah, you can see that it is hard to see certain items, so I really appreciated that feedback, and I did try to do more contrasting color schemes basically. And yeah, this is me just making some minor changes to the teen boys bedroom, mostly changing the color palette, and I'm also throwing in some newly added items into the pack as well. As you all know, this pack was still a work in progress when we had our hands on it, so a lot of items still weren't in it, but towards the end we were getting a more full list of completed items, so I was able to incorporate some of those in this build as well. But yes, that's pretty much it for this build. I hope you all enjoyed seeing my process of building the Price family home for the Sims 4 High School Years expansion pack, and I hope you're all excited to meet all of the Sims yourself. There's definitely a lot to unpack, but I think that's going to be it for me for this video. I just want to thank you all so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.